Alright, let's talk about black-eyed kids. So this is considered a paranormal subject. Like, maybe it isn't real, that's how a lot of people feel. But what they are supposedly kids. They show up, they scare people, they kind of show up like unannounced. Their eyes are completely black. There's no white in their eyes, so naturally they don't look right and they terrify people. Brian Bethel from Abilene, Texas, he was a journalist and he was one of the first people to talk about this, at least publicly. He wrote about his experience, and a lot of people found out about the phenomenon from that. Now, what's a recurring theme from the stories that people have when they claim they've encountered these black-eyed kids is there's an immense feeling of dread and fear, which doesn't make sense if they're just kids. So another common thing that happens in these encounters is people are asked permission. That these kids, either they approach them at their car or at their house or something like that, and they're asking for permission. But it's weird. They don't talk right. They're speaking English, but they don't sound right. They're monotone, and the voice doesn't match what they look like. It just is weird, and they don't say things that are normal. Like, they'll say things like, "Let us in. Can you help us?" And they need permission. They need permission from you, and they'll keep pressing. They'll keep asking for permission until you say no, or you let them in. Now, unfortunately, there are a few people who let them in. There was a couple who let them in their house, and they both got sick. The people living in the house, I think all 4 of their cats died. So weird stuff happened. Another lady, she ran into a grocery store, comes back out, and there's a second child in her vehicle. So she turns around to look and see who this other kid is, and it's a black-eyed kid. So she freaks out. She gets out of the car, she gets her kid out, and she runs away from the vehicle, goes back into the store with her kid, calls her husband, and is hysterical on the phone. So her husband comes to pick her up, and she literally will not get back in the vehicle. She's that scared, even though the black-eyed kid is gone at this point. So she's so scared of what she saw that she wouldn't drive the vehicle. So her husband had her drive the car he brought, and she drove away. He drives the vehicle the kid was in, and he got into a terrible accident on his way home and ended up in ICU. He did survive, but it was really bad, almost killed him. And maybe my favorite story of all the stories I've heard about people encountering these black-eyed kids is the camper up in Michigan. And I'm not going to tell the story today because I don't have time. I may do that in another video. I have not been able to find the author. I would love to track him down and talk to him about it, because in my opinion, it's a true story, because the details they're all real. They're all real. Everything he describes is real, and it tracks with the place that he described where he was, and also what other people have experienced. So I would love to talk to him about it, but I can't find him. Now, as a Christian with a biblical worldview, I do believe the black-eyed kids are real or were real. I don't know if people continue to see them today. Some of this stuff happened, like I said, back in the 90s. To quote the great L.A. Marzulli, what he believes is they were the second generation of the hybrids that have come out of the breeding program. So when people are taken by aliens, not aliens, they're evil like demonic beings, but when they're taken, many times women end up pregnant, and then they're taken again in the 3rd month, and the fetus is then removed. And so there's a breeding program going on. A woman by the name of Karen Wilkinson got pregnant 3 times, and Marzulli believes that the black-eyed kids are the second generation of this breeding program. So they're not actually kids, they just are stunted in growth. But their eyes weren't right, and their voices weren't right. Even their clothes didn't look quite right, and they freaked people out. And so with the black-eyed kids being obsessed with permission, that just further solidifies for me that these are demonic beings looking for permission. And then, of course, there's disaster of some kind, death, even weird, terrible things happen after people give them permission. What do you think?